Hello everyone. I want to read a story to you today called The Relatives Came. I love this story. It's a story by author Cynthia Ryland and illustrated by Stephen Gamel. The Relatives Came. This is also an AR test. The test number is 5537, so write that down. We'll look and see. Everybody got AR points for this. The Relatives Came. Oh, farmhouse. Here we go. It was the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. They left when their grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. They had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop. That's what we call soda. And some boxes of crackers and some bologna sandwiches. And up they came from Virginia. They left at 4 in the morning when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. And there's their old station wagon. And there they are leaving their house and continuing their drive. They drove all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia, but they thought about us too, waiting for them. So they drank up all their pop, remember that's soda, and ate up all their crackers and traveled up all those miles until finally they pulled into our yard. Oops. More like they crashed into our yard. Come on, focus. There they are, excitedly waiting for their company. Oh boy, look at all these happy grins and hugs. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car, pulling us against their wrinkled Virginia clothes, crying sometimes. They hugged us for hours. They must have really missed one another, I'm thinking. Maybe it had been a long time since they'd seen each other. Can you see the pictures there? They're all looking so happy. Then it was into the house, and so much laughing and shining faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front room. Those relatives. It's like lots of maybe cousins and aunts and uncles, or aunts and uncles, maybe grandparents too. And finally, after a big supper, another word for dinner, and finally after a big supper, 2 or 3 times around, until we all got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk, and we were in 2s and 3s through the house. So everybody's like in their little groups, talking. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good, since there weren't any extras. So a few squeezed in with us, and the rest slept on the floor, some with their arms thrown over the closest person, or some with an arm across one person and a leg across another. Isn't it fun to get to sleep on the floor? I remember loving to do that as a kid. It was different, going to sleep with all that new breathing in the house. Looks like she's maybe having a hard time going to sleep. I bet that maybe there's some snoring going on, you think? Lots of different things they're doing. Somebody's getting a haircut, playing, somebody's playing in a box. Looks like some of the relatives are planting. Somebody's playing horsey. Okay. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden and fixed any broken things they could find. They ate up all our strawberries and melons, then promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. They're getting lots of things fixed. It also looks like they're having a good time, sharing, making music. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together, just living and having a good old time together. I love getting together with my family that I don't get to see very often. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chest and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our beds and felt too big and too quiet. The beds that felt too big and too quiet. We fell asleep. It's too quiet because they're missing all their family. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them. And they missed us. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about the next summer. The end. Okay, so I guess maybe next time it'll be the other relatives' turn to visit Virginia. So I'd like to see everybody log in and take an AR test, 5537. And again, it's the relatives came. I hope you enjoyed this story. Bye for now.